Good evening everyone and welcome to the Slingshot Chronicles from the Jester's lab. Today's episode 4, we're going to talk about ways to attach the band set that we made in the last episode, in episode 3, onto a frame. We're also going to talk very briefly about how to attach tubes to a slingshot frame as well. So I'll be going through them pretty quickly. I won't be doing a practical example of each one because most of them are self-explanatory, but I'll give you a few tips. So let's start with, there's a lot of people out there that own Black Widows and Daisies and wrist rockets, and I have this kind of attachment on them. It's pretty self-explanatory. You put a bit of spit on a plastic doobalaggy over here on the end of the frame, and you slip the rubber over the top. What's important with these slingshots? You have to go about 1 centimeter of rubber beyond the sharp edge of the bung, of the plug up here on the frame. The reason being, if it doesn't, it'll slip back and slap you in the face. It's always better to use a bit of saliva putting it in and then twist it on until it kind of starts hanging on and you're ready to go. So that's pretty easy to redo a wrist rocket. This one's for you, 717. Just make sure you do that so you don't bloody take your eye out. Okay, now we have looped bands. Looped bands, there's a few ways of attaching them to a frame, and we're going to go through a couple of them here. So the first one is, these are the slingshots I make out of carabiners. As you can see, they've got a looped band on them. And these carabiners are pretty simple. You take the 2 screws out the top, open the gypsy tabs, put the loop tubes on, screw on the gypsy tabs, and you're ready to go. Right? I'm not going to go through that. You also, if you're using a natural slingshot and you don't want to drill the top of the frame, because it does compromise its strength somewhat if you put holes up here in these frames. So what I do with this is, once again, I make tabs, but I tie them on with the wrap and tuck method, which I will show you later on when I put a set of bands on a slingshot frame. It's quite a good method. God, I love this slingshot. Look at that beautiful orange color over there. So that's another way of putting looped bands. Okay. And here's an interesting one. This is the jelly bean. This has an Ocularis fitting. I'll take it apart because a lot of people end up doing this wrong and it's dangerous. Okay, so what you have here is an Ocularis bung. And down the middle of this bung, there's a ball bearing which you have to get to with a special tool, which is a chopstick. So you got a bung and a bearing. Here's how this works. You always make sure that the bung goes in on the target side so that that lip there stops it from slipping through the slingshot towards you. If you put the bung on this way, as soon as you put a bit of pull on the slingshot, you're going to pull it out and it's going to slap you in the face. And that has this inside it, which weighs about 4 grams. So it'll be a good slap. Always make sure the bungs come in from the target side towards you. I can't stress that enough. And that goes for bands and loops with the Ocularis fitting. So what you do is, you set that over there like that. Now you see there's a gap in the top, a gap in the bottom. They got to line up with the band. So we'll put them like that. 1, 2, and just leave a bit of space up the top, a bit of a loose loop up the top, like that. Okay. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to orient it and pull it in a bit. Now here's your little ball. You're going to grab the little ball and you're going to push it into the hole, like so. Get your special tool, push it in a bit further. Now you're going to grab this and you're going to pull on it. And that will actually pull it up to the bung. And that's how you do an Ocularis. Always remember, never stick the bung in from the pouch side. I can't stress that enough. Because I've seen on YouTube people getting slapped in the face by one of these, and that's not nice. Alright, so that's how you do loop tubes. Now if you want to do single strand loops, I explained yesterday a bit about these things. These things, you get the tube, You shove a ball down the tube there, and the slingshot actually has a slot over here, and to put them on, it's as simple as grabbing the tube, stretching it, putting it across the slot, and it will drop into the space, draw it, and it's set up. So that's a single one, but you can also have multiple tubes with this setup. Like, here's one of my heaviest slingshots here, and you'd be amazed how quickly, I'll show you how quickly I can reband this thing. So that's one, that's two. Bands are off, okay? As you can see, they've all got the ball bearings in the end of them. They're a bit fussy to make, but once you've made them, you're out in the field, you need a new set of bands, this is how quickly you put them on. Just make sure you iron them out in the direction you want them, and you go 1, 2, oh, I'm fumbling a bit, no glasses, 3, and the other side, 1, 2, 3. You draw it to bring the balls up to the frame, and she's ready to shoot. There you go. And another method with the ball is this one. I do this with the naturals because I'm not too happy with having the ball sitting over here. Through a natural one, you might pull it through the hole. So what I do is, if you have a look at the rubbers there, I double them back over themselves. Instead of drilling one hole, I drill 2 holes. I cut a channel in the front for the rubber to sit flush. See, it doesn't protrude. And then I run the slingshot rubber down one way, through here and back the other way, and stick the ball in it, which is right there. Okay? And then what I do is I pull all the slack and stretch it a bit over here, hold the ball there, and then take up all the slack from this side, and you end up with this. That's 60-90 rubbers. Usually anything, whenever you have a single slingshot, you don't go any skinnier than 20-50 because it'll be pointless. And the last method to attach loop bands is the matchstick method. It's a Chinese slingshot made out of boxwood. Made out of blackwood. And this is how this works. I'll show you. I'll take the band off so I can show you how it works. So you have a loop band here, and you have a hole there, right? You get a piece of string and you wax half of it. As you can see, the first bit is, the string is soft, but the first bit is really stiff. And that'll become clear why in a second. So, we've got the slingshot there. We're going to pass the stiff part of the string through the loop it through the band, like that, and pass it back through the hole. If you try and do this with a string that has not been waxed, you are going to have a really hard time doing it. And that's why we wax the strings. And comes out over here, grab it, and you yank it through. And that brings the rubber to your side of the slingshot, just like that. Alright, try and even it out a bit. Like so. I can get a bit more even, I guess. There you go. Like that. And then you get your little matchstick, or in this case it's a roll pin with a piece of rubber pushed down the middle of a piece of 1745 tube. You put it over there, like that. You just grab it and yank it through. And that's the matchstick method, right? You've got to kind of make sure they're even, fiddle about with them, get them so they're not too loopy. There you go. That's done. And the last step of the job is to actually grab this and twist it around so that both the rubbers are oriented in the same direction. And we'll do that like that. Alright, so that's how you do your tubes. Now, we can move on to the bands. Okay, here's the first type. This is familiar, just like the other one before. It's an Ocularis fitting. So here's how this one works. I'm not going to take both sides out, I'm just going to take one side out. Alright, so once again, the beauty of this slingshot is you can orient your bands whichever way you want. You can have it this way if you want to shoot OTT like I do. That's why it's set to over the top. But if you want to, you can spin it around this way and use it as a TTF. So they're pretty versatile frame, these Ocularis ones. These ones are pretty simple to do. You just get the band, put it through the hole, make sure it's ironed out and make sure it's oriented the way you want it to be. You get that lip over there. It's important that you have just that little bit extra over there. And you get your bung, which I will get the ball out of in a second. This is why you need the chopstick. Alright, so we're going to have that lined up there like that. Like so. Right? We're going to get the bung. We're going to put it in the hole. Beautiful. So that it looks like so. Once again, always make sure that the bung goes in on the target side. The bung goes in on the side you shooting at towards the pouch. Just make sure that you have even amounts of rubber sticking out up the top here, out the front. So let's try that again. It's usually best to grab the band from this side and hold it. It'll go much easier. There you go. And if it doesn't, you can do the old sling shooter's trick and she's in. I just slipped it through again. They are a bit dodgy, but you know, I'm not using glasses and I'm trying to get it perfect when I really shouldn't be bothering on video. There you go. So it's pulled through like so. You've got equal amounts hanging out the top. Rotate this to get it oriented the way you want to, which in my case is OTT. Grab the bung, put it in the middle. Now with these ones, it's not like the tubes. The band doesn't actually go over the top of the bung and back through, so you've got to make sure that you push that bung in all the way home. That is visible from this side. And always have the bands going over the top of the slingshot. It's your Ocularis. Next, I do this with some naturals sometimes. It's a bung method. Okay, so what I do is, let me just take it up and I'll show you this. When I make the frame, I drill out slingshot, put a 10mm to 11mm tapered hole there, and when I want to band it, what I do is I grab the bands, make sure they're oriented the way I want them to be oriented, take the twist out of them. Okay, now you grab these bands, fold them over twice and push them through this hole here, like so, and pull them out the other side, okay, and try and iron them out so that they sit perfectly halved. And the way I do this step is to wrap it around the cork itself, because that will get it to sit properly. So just like this, put the cork on the band like that, And now we're going to pull the band from behind and push the cork inwards, like so, and just send it home. And you got to push until the cork comes out to this end. Once again, you pull the band over the top, and you always have the cork coming in from this side on these ones, from the pouch side. So the opposite of the Ocularis. The Ocularis, it would be here. On these ones, it's over here, and it wraps out and around at the front of the slingshot. Okay, now some more things, some more methods of doing sticking bands on. This is a method that I use. Personally, I've never seen anybody else use it. What I do is, I have skinny slingshots. I actually cut a piece of rubber tube, put it over the top of the frame there. Right? I'll show you with these ones how the band goes on. It's pretty easy. So you get this bit of rubber tube, you put it on, and you roll it back like so. Okay, there you go. You put the band in place and hold it in place. You get the rubber tube and you roll it over the top of the band, just like that. And then you take the bottom bit out, like so, pull it out, tidy it out, and there you have it. So far I haven't had this attach method fail on me at all, and I wouldn't use it with really heavy rubbers, but with skinny rubbers and skinny forks like these ones, up to like 12-14 mil, it seems to work really well. Always try and use the tube diameter with an internal diameter of about half of the gap you're trying to fill. I'll just redo this because it didn't sit properly the first time around. This is also an easy way to reband your slingshot. Okay, let's do it tidy this time. So you put it there, roll the rubber on, and then you pull the bottom up a bit and tidy it up. And that's it. Perfect. Okay, and now how to attach tubes to this kind of slingshot. It's really, really easy. What you do is you just get a piece of tube, skinny tube, right? You get your bands. Here's a band set I made in episode 3 that I'm going to show you wrap and tuck with. It's a bit wide for this frame, but you'll get the idea anyway. So you set it up the way you want it, which would be like that, and you're going to grab the tube, you're going to stretch it across the band like so, and you're going to pull down until the tube locates itself in the groove. So sometimes it's easy, sometimes not so easy. Depends how thick your rubbers are. This is 0.8 rubber, so it will resist a bit. You can use a skinnier tube to secure it if it's giving you a really hard time, but I found I can get these in alright. And there you go, the tube's in, and then just stretch it and kind of even it out a bit, like that. You get the scissors, you cut the spares there. Always make sure that the tab, the extra tab, sticks out on the pouch side, so when you do draw the slingshot, you're actually drawing over that tab and securing it in place. So the only way for it can't roll out. The only way for it to come out is to pull the hose through the hole, and it's not going to happen. So that's how you do these slotted ones, which are the Chinese slingshots, the 20 mil ones. It's what I always use. It's how I always do it. And last but not least, this is my most used method, and that's a wrap and tuck. You just get strips of rubber, which I'm going to do right now, and wrap it up and put it there. Everybody uses it, and everybody uses this method, which I guess kind of proves that it is the best method to do it. Okay, so without further ado, we have a little slingshot here, right there, a little cherry wood frame. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this band set that we did yesterday on it today. So we'll get our cutting mat out. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get some. This is what I do with bands when they snap, when they're not that old. I actually keep them and use them for securing bands on my slingshots. So you need a piece about 8 inches long. And what I'm going to do with that, it's kind of tapered, but it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do that is slice it down the middle, lengthways. And that will be the bands that we're going to secure our slingshot with. So we drop that down the middle there. Get our blade and slice it up. And we have our 2 bits. They're not even, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Before I start, this is a tool you need to make, and that's a string, looped string with beads or something that allow, or you can put a big knot on it, something that allows you to pull through, and you'll see what we're going to use this for in a minute. Okay, so we'll look at the orientation of the slingshot. We want the bands to be like this. The slingshot target side is that way. So let's attach the first band. So the idea is you get the band and you wrap it up like so, leaving about 15 millimeters on the end, right? Or half an inch if you're in America. You get your rubber, put it under your finger, and stretch it across, and give it a turn to lock it down on itself, like that, right? Now, if you want to do any adjustment to the rubber, this is the time to do it, because once you start wrapping it, you're not going to move that rubber at all. So I'm happy with the position. So what we'll do is, we'll wrap it up to probably about 5 mil from the tip of the fork, like so. Okay, and now we'll put the string in, put it against the fork. You're going to go 1, twice, 3 times a lady, and then you're going to run that through the loop there, like so. You're going to hold the pressure on, hold the tension on. You grab this and you slide it down until you pop it through. So here we go. So right now the wrap and tuck is locked. So you're going to grab this bit here. You're going to stretch it. You're going to cut it, making sure you don't damage the rest of the wrap. And you're going to hold the wrapping either side of the string and pull down. And that pulls the wrap and tuck through. I like to get rid of this loose end down here, just because I'm anal. You don't really have to, but I like it to be tidy. I don't like shit hanging out of my knots. So that's a wrap and tuck. Let's do it again. One more time for the dummies. Remember, there was a ad I always found that's offensive in Australia. One more time for the dummies. It was a Luna Park ad, and it was really patronizing. Nobody really got that. Okay, so about the same amount of distance, we're going to get that piece of rubber around the first loop, most important one, and overlap it over itself to lock it in. Like, oops, it just slipped. but we've got it anyway, like so. Okay, so once again, we're going to wrap it. Always keep the tension on these. I don't use grooves for the banding at all. I don't put banding grooves on my slingshots. However, I do them really, really tight, and they haven't failed on me. They've never, this kind of securing method has never failed on me. So once again, we'll put the little string of now see, this happens. I had a nick in the rubber. It doesn't matter. We'll get another piece of rubber and do it again. And I don't have red rubber, so we're going to have mismatched colors. It's going to be port and starboard, red and blue, red and green. See, these things happen all the time when you're doing slingshots. So we're going to get a ruler. We're going to cut our band. Hopefully. Beautiful. That's our band. And we'll try that again. So, make sure the orientation of the bands is right. Get about 15 mil overlap on the fork, like so. Hold it down like that. Get your rubber, put it on there, pull it around. It's not my day today. Pull it around and wrap it over itself, just like that. Okay, and then you're gonna go up to the top of the fork and start wrapping down really tight. Wrap down, wrap down, wrap down, wrap down until the bottom of the rubbers. And like I was saying, I don't put grooves in my fork ends, and I've never really had anything let go. I've lost my string, believe it or not. There it is. And amazingly, we've done today's episode in one cut, which means I am not going to have to put it through the editor. Okay, we have still another problem. I didn't leave enough loops out, so I'll back it up a bit. There you go. That'll be fine now. Put the string down. Wrap this up. 2, 3, and the last one stops there. Grab the string. Pull it through. Cut this little bit of extra up from up here. Hold either side of the string and pull the rest of the thing through. And as you can see, that's the perfect wrap and tuck. You can see how it tucks under the tree. There's no way this is going to come off. And that's how you band a slingshot. I hope you found this interesting. In episode 5, we're going to talk a bit about ammunitions. What types, what bands to shoot with what ammo, etc., etc. Until then, have a good evening.